moviegoers, and welcome to Movie Central, a place to talk about movies, TV shows based on movies, toys based on movies, games based on movies, and rides based on movies. I'm your host, Mr. CCS, and these are my pets, George the Gorilla, Kyle the Dolphin, and Frank the Sea Turtle. As you can probably notice, I'm back in the office. Yeah, we finally got a light fix, so I don't have to shoot from my room anymore. Anyways, I've been gone for close to a month, and you're probably wondering why I'm not reviewing either Lara Croft Tomb Raider, The Cradle of Light, or the Resident Evil sequels. The short answer is that I didn't feel like doing either of them this week, and the long answer is only one of the two potential reviews I just listed will be released, and it will be the Tomb Raider review, considering the fact that I was extremely dissatisfied with the first Resident Evil, and I don't want to bother with the other ones. I could have just as easily covered some of the anime adaptations this week too, such as the Street Fighter 2 film, or the Pokemon films, or even the Mario anime. But to be completely honest with you, I've been very busy and extremely tired recently. So I figured that I'd review an adaptation of a video game that wasn't a movie, but rather a graphic novel. Not just any graphic novel, mind you, but one from a former magazine that ruled during the 80s, 90s, and even a little bit of the early 2000s, and I actually have no idea if they're still around today. I'm of course talking about Nintendo Power Magazine. Debuting in 1988, Nintendo Power Magazine was the ultimate guide for Nintendo. Keep in mind that this is before the days of the internet, really having a full grasp on all of us as we know it today. So this was your go-to if you ever had a problem beating a game. To my surprise, it actually ran up until the early 2010s, and considering the fact that the internet forums and YouTube were on the scene by December of 2012, that's kinda shocking. Now, that's not the point I'm trying to make. The point is as follows: you wanted anything in regards to the guides, Nintendo Power had you covered. However, I'm not here to discuss the impact of this magazine. I'm here to talk about the comics that came with the issues of the magazines published in the early 1990s. Several Nintendo games were adapted, including The Legend of Zelda, Super Metroid, and even Star Fox, which is a franchise no one seems to talk about anymore. However, what I'm here to talk about is the series of comics inspired by my favorite side of Nintendo, Mario. So, how did our favorite plumber stand out in 1992? Well, Super Mario Bros. And its two NES sequels had been out for 5 years, and Super Mario World was a big success on the Super Nintendo at the time. The Super Mario Bros. Super Show and its two spin-off shows ran around this time as well, but if you know anything about the quality of those shows, you probably know how I feel about them. Also, 1992 was 1 year before the live-action movie would be released in theaters, so needless to say, it wasn't really a shock that this comic was included. What was a shock, however, is how many people still talk about and praise it. Around 21 years later, in 2013, the nostalgia critic, fellow YouTuber, and an inspiration of yours truly, made his YouTube video discussing the comics. So, like a true copycat, I decided to take the opportunity to do the same thing he did 11 years later and review these comics to see how well they hold up. Well, I hope you're excited because today we're talking about the Super Mario Adventures series, aka the first great adaptation of the Mario series in other media. The plot of the comic is the same as most of the early Mario games, with the primary basis coming from Super Mario World, which was the most recent game at the time. The Mario brothers arrive at the Mushroom Kingdom to fix a plumbing problem within the castle. During this escapade, they stumble upon a green pipe which unleashes several baddies and the king of the Koopas, Bowser, who, alongside his 7 children, the Koopalings, demands that Princess Peach of the Mushroom Kingdom marry him. She refuses, and the evil monarch retaliates by turning the kingdom to stone and leaving for his domain, Peach following closely behind with a group of toads. Mario and Luigi are then tasked with following the princess and, with the help of Yoshi, thwart Bowser's plan of dominance. Now, as I previously said, this comic came out back in 1992, and the first movie came out in 1993. I have to ask, Why not just adapt this comic into an animated film? It was a charming, cute, and hilarious little adventure that I loved reading through and still get a kick out of every time I watch the audio drama version or revisit several great scenes. This was the perfect adaptation back in the day, and it would have been awesome to see animators take on this task. Whatever, that's just wishful thinking. The point I'm trying to make here is that this is a very enjoyable comic and one that is a great adaptation to this very day, regardless of how much I love the new movie. So let's dive into it and talk more about what makes it so great. So, by 1992, everyone knew who Mario was, but not many people knew what Mario acted like. He was just the protagonist. Today, he's usually portrayed as the confident, humble, kind hero of the Mushroom Kingdom. But back before the days he could speak, no one knew who Mario was in regards to personality. This comic series established Mario as a witty, dry, eager, and very confident hero. He takes no crap from nobody, and that's what worked about him most. I like how nowadays they've established him as more of a character, like in the 3D games and even the most recent film, and I have this book to thank for that. Well done, guys. Luigi is still the more interesting of the brothers in this book, since I connect with him more on a personal level. He's shy, soft-spoken, and he does spook pretty easily, especially after Luigi's Mansion. The elements of what led to his personality today are here in this book, and I really enjoyed seeing that, especially considering the fact that I am a massive Luigi fan today. As for Peach, she's not just the damsel in distress in this book. No, not at all. She takes way more initiative, like running after Bowser, attempting to escape him herself, and even storming his castle with the help of Yoshi. It's only at the end where she falls to Bowser's power, but that doesn't matter. They made Peach more of a character in this, although I've never hated her getting kidnapped. I'm glad we got to see more of an action side of Peach in this, as it led to her own solo game, Princess Peach Showtime, as well as her wonderful inclusion in Super Mario 3D World and Super Mario Bros. Wonder. And she was also playable in Super Mario Bros. 2, but that was a long time ago. Now, as for Yoshi, since this takes a lot from Super Mario World, it only makes sense for him to be one of the main characters here. This is the project that established Yoshi as only being able to communicate with his own name, something used in future games. I like that since it keeps him more unique and not just a generic talking animal. You can tell he's just a friendly companion to the brothers, regardless of how frightened both of them may be. He's like a loyal dog that will never leave your side no matter what, and I can only hope that the sequel to the new movie will establish that as well. Now, on to our villain. Bowser is not as frightening as he is in Super Mario World, Super Mario 64, Super Mario Galaxy, or even Bowser's Fury. But what they do with his character here is absolutely hilarious. He's a menacing villain who uses the Yoshis as slaves as well as turning others into stone, but he also raps to Princess Peach and is such a goofball to the point where I have to wonder why I didn't think he was terrible. Honestly, you can see why Bowser wants to kidnap Peach, yet also root for him to be taken down, and that's what I enjoyed about this version of the character. Sure, I prefer the darker version we see in certain games, but every once in a while, I enjoy a goofier, lighthearted approach. So yeah, all the main characters are great. The Toads have a lot of significance, the Koopalings are great, since I already like seeing them anyways, and even Friendly Foyd was a neat addition. Now, let's talk about the art style. It looks like the box art of the original games, but it also takes on a unique style of its own, with some manga influence, which isn't preferred in my mind, but it's still unique and interesting in many ways. Finally, we have the action scenes, which include Peach's daring escape from Bowser, the bombardment scene, and the finale at the wedding. They were all entertaining and very cinematic in many ways. So if you haven't yet, I recommend you go and read this comic series. It's incredibly funny, cute, and entertaining in so many ways. And it is the definitive adaptation of the Mario series in regards to comics. Definitely check this one out when you have a chance. This deserves a 10 out of 10. Well, that's all I have for you guys today. Next week, I will be taking a look at the Tomb Raider sequel, and hopefully I don't lose my marbles. Until then, and with that said, My name is Mr. CCS, this is Movie Central, and that, my friends, is a wrap. See you next week.